The next thing is advocacy. It's very difficult as an Alana student navigating this campus. We are not given information that other individuals are given. So one of the first things that we're going to do is work with MCAS, which is the Multicultural Center for Academic Success, in reestablishing the MCAS Advocates Program. It is very difficult for us on the academic side to speak to our academic advisors, our professors, and even talk about our classmates when we are faced with discrimination. Additionally, we will make special office hours for our students to come and talk to us about personal issues they have, so that way they don't get into situations and then need to look for help. We can help them navigate this institution because this institution has so many resources that we are paying to use. And finally, we will be engaging in transparent conversation with administration and student government. I have heard so many conversations happen and none of them have been real. So I am here to have conversations with y'all and be very direct, so that way we can support all students on this campus.
And then the next one we have is the L, so that's the literacy portion. So we really want to go ahead and inform students on campus about the different topics such as finance, sexual health, because these topics aren't really talked about in the classroom. So we want to inform these students so that they're more aware during their college life and after, to be really prepared for their careers after that. So we really want to go ahead and focus on programming literacy events for all of the ACA affiliates. And we want to make this a key thing so that the Alana community is really informed when they're going into the real world. Then the next one we want to focus on is mental health. So right now, ACA hosts events such as Wind Down Wednesdays, Wake Up Wednesdays, and these are such great events that allow us to go ahead and connect with the Alana community. So we want to have more of these events and have these where they're very open for people to talk to us, such as Darnay was saying earlier. We want to go ahead and give people the space to speak, and we want them to feel like they're being heard. So we also want to support our affiliates by making sure this is also a part of their programming, and they're really going ahead and not only helping their general body members, but their executive boards as well, because that's the foundation that it's built on.
Thank y'all, and we believe that you will believe in the calm difference. Are we done? We go. We go. We go. Okay.
Hello? There we go. Next up is our first Global Union ticket. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced your names. Sedman Islam, Kimberly Perez, and Tubi Fadi.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are we doing? Happy Friday to all.
All right. Hey, everyone. How's it going? My name is Sadman Islam. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the elected treasurer of Global Union for 2 years in a row now. I am excited to announce my candidacy to run for Global Union president for next year, alongside my vice president, Kimberly, and our treasurer, Toby. We believe we have the experience, passion, and vision required to lead Global Union and its continued success. If elected, we'll ensure Global Union remains a welcoming and inclusive space for all students, regardless of their backgrounds or nationality. We'll be prioritizing 3 initiatives. The first being advocacy and activism. Global Union, being one of the RSOs, has an important role to play in terms of advocating for policies and practices that promote diversity, equity, and inclusion on campus. We'll work with RIT to identify key issues affecting our international and diverse student populations and develop strategies for addressing them. We'll also be having monthly international student tea time, where members can come and interact with the e-board members and communities within the community. And enjoy free tea. We'll also continue to give voice to our students during SG Senates and governance meetings. Lastly, we'll continue to spread awareness of global issues affecting our peers on campus and have more successful fundraisers.
So the second pillar is about empowering members, and I wanted to start off by talking about the human voice. So it's an instrument that we all play, and it's the most powerful sound in the world. How can we work to empower your voice and make yourselves heard? So we believe that every student and member of Global Union has something valuable to contribute. Your concern for everything that happens on this campus and on a global scale is extremely important to us. We'll work to empower members by listening to your concerns, representing them on our platform, and addressing them. We'll also encourage students to take on leadership roles where they can make a difference. How? By creating volunteering opportunities during our events, such as relief fundraisers, one which was very successful this semester. I'm sure you guys all heard it about the Turkey and Syria. Many people were involved in that, so shout out to everybody. And we'll also encourage students to take initiative on events that they'd like to see and offer our support with our platform and our resources. We'll also work on providing leadership mentoring for those interested in running for future Global Union positions, so they don't come into it blindly. So they'll come in with like a background, feel ready for next year, making sure that each year Global Union gets better. And we'll also have our weekly international student spotlights showing the diverse student body that we have here on campus. And also that will help students establish relationships with others that they have not met yet. So I wanted to finish off this pillar by saying, if you can't find a leader who inspires you, be the leader you wish you had.
And I'll be talking about the third pillar which is strengthening partnerships. I saw that this was the one people were least interested in, but we have to talk about it, so I hope that's okay. Global Union has already established a lot of strong partnerships with our affiliates and other organizations on campus. And our goal is to strengthen those partnerships even more through transparency. That's one of the biggest things we're looking at. And obviously we have our affiliates right now. We have affiliates we had in the past who didn't join us this time, but we want to bring even more for the next administration. We want to get some more affiliates in, showcase more of the student body. And to strengthen those partnerships, aside from the transparency that I've talked about already, we're going to have some key things, like we're going to have a survey for affiliates to request funding when it's needed. And we'll also have a finance meeting hosted by your prospective Global Union president and this guy over here as the treasurer. I'll be hosting. So a lot of what we're gonna do is just try to build relationships with our affiliates, obviously like relating with them on things they wanna do as well. Like there's unification that we've talked about as one of the big things. So yeah.
So yeah, basically as the leadership team of Global Union, we'll be accessible, approachable, and responsive to the needs of our members. We'll listen to your ideas and concerns and incorporate. Okay.
Thank you,
We're good.
everybody.
Next up, we'll have our second Global Union ticket, Fatia Naeem, Tahara Ghazali, and Nupa Bizwa.
Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. My name is Fatia Naeem, and I'm running for Global Union President. I'm a third-year biotech major, and I'm from Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tahara Ghazali, and I'm running for Vice President for GU, and I'm from Rochester, New York, and my major is Biomedical Sciences.
Hello, everyone. I am Anupa. I'm from Rochester. I am a third-year biomedical science major, and I'm running for the GU treasurer position.
Alrighty, so we're all really excited to introduce our Global Union platform to you guys all today, which aims to strengthen the international and multicultural community at RIT by redefining the phrase home. As international students and students coming from college with diverse backgrounds, sometimes finding our niche is very difficult, and our cabinet strives to create a home away from home, because home is not a place, but it's a people, and we create that space for you to find your home. Throughout our time at RIT, the three of us have found our niche within these spaces on campus, whether it's in the MSA, OAS, Global Public Health Association, MCAS, and we want to promote collaboration, solidarity, support, and guidance to create a foundation for these same clubs and affiliate programs that provided us with the same home on campus. So our platform revolves around 3 actions. We want to show you guys what we want to do for our platform. And these are diversify, solidify, and multiply. Our first one is to diversify. And as you know, Global Union is already a very diverse RSO on campus, but we want to introduce something more, something that was not seen before. We want to introduce an NTID representative into our e-board to help promote inclusivity of deaf and hard of hearing students at these wonderful multicultural events. If you've ever been to our multicultural events on campus, there seems to be a lack thereof. I have firsthand experience from the MSA of how much more involvement and inclusivity this role holds at RIT. There's a whole nother community who shows up, and it brings up a plethora of attendance and more ideas. We want to introduce this to GU, and we intend to also broaden the range of affiliates, from advocacy groups to even religious organizations on campus, and proliferate collaboration amongst these affiliates through monthly workshops at GU. This way, we can help our affiliates navigate the areas that they can become more inclusive.
Our second goal is to solidify. We noticed that so many students at RIT were not familiar with Global Union, so we wish to set a foundation of its presence on campus. This includes clearly marketing the resources provided by GU by attending our affiliates' general body meetings to provide guidance, transparency, and familiarity. We also tend to hold an annual cultural fashion show amongst our affiliates at the start of the year so that students can represent who they are and new students can get exposure to many homes on campus. And we also plan to diversify and advertise all these affiliates.
Our last goal is to multiply. Most importantly, we want to foster participation and engagement amongst our students and highlight their stories, such as marketing student spotlights. We also intend to advocate concern faced by our international and multicultural students and develop solutions, whether it's a global issue that needs to be highlighted or resources that are needed to observe religious and cultural holidays. We believe that international and multicultural students are an integral part of our college community, and we intend to create a sustainable system for them to represent themselves with utmost ease. With these initiatives, we believe we'll build a more welcoming and encouraging college community. So you could say that GU was your RIT home. Thank you for your time, and we would really appreciate your vote.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
And finally, we have our outspoken ticket, Danielle Erberg and Rosalind Flowers.
Hello, I'm Danielle Ambergy. I'm a second-year chemistry major from Cincinnati, Ohio, and I am running for Outspoken President.
Hello, I'm Rosaline Flowers. I'm a first-year computer science student from Elizabethtown, Kentucky, and I am running for Vice President of Outspoken.
The first thing that we would like to work on as president and vice president of Outspoken is hosting more events like the Trans Pride Parade that happened this year. This would help to improve our constituency's sense of community and bring more exposure to Outspoken so that people know what resources we have available and where they can bring their concerns if they have a problem on campus that we can help them solve.
We also hope to expand the gender affirming resources that we offer for trans and non-binary students or just gender non-conforming students in easily accessible places like the Q Center. There's a lot of opportunities here for resources like binders and makeup that students might have difficulty getting otherwise, and giving them more opportunities to present themselves comfortably and feel at home here.
Finally, we'd just like to prioritize any problems brought directly to us by constituents that aren't things we have thought of ourselves. That's it. We don't have much to say.
Next up are our student government presidential and vice presidential candidates. Please welcome Darcy Jones and JT Latman, Daniel Francis and Brian Morgan, Scott Franco and Leah Dibble, and Dan Taba and Cass Tierney. We will begin with Darcy and JT's opening statement.
Hello, everyone. My name is JT Lapham. I'm a third-year biochemistry student from Glens Falls, New York, and I'm running for Vice President of Student Government.
And I'm Darcy. I'm a fourth-year mechanical engineering major. I'm originally from just outside of Reading, Pennsylvania, and I'm running for president. So our platform focuses on the 3 C's. So the first one is collaboration. So if you guys didn't know, there used to be this thing on campus called Project Spirit. Spirit stood for Student Pride in RIT. And it focused on getting people out to events. So if you went to events and you scanned in, you would get points, and the points would occur, and you would be entered to win like a bigger prize at the end of the year, like a flat screen TV, a monitor, a Nintendo Switch, things like that. And if we're trying to get back to this pre-COVID time back on campus, I feel like that's the best way to actually get students to go out. They actually get like really cool prizes. So that's our collaboration point.
Communication is our second C, and it's one of our most important. One of the big things that we want to do is more town halls, similar to this one. Paw Prints is serviceable, but slightly ineffective. Essentially, we want there to be more of a connect between the students and their government. So that means that we have to, that means that we have to move forward with doing more things that can allow students to have direct contact between them and their student government. But we have to make sure that our students are comfortable with coming to events like this. And in doing that, we have to market student government. So we will do things like weekly updates. We will continue to do those as they show relatability, they show who we are, they show what we do. It allows people to get to know us before they show up to an event like this. And then on top of that, we would like to establish a younger connection. During move-in week, we'd like to move around dorm side, hand out merchandise, plant that seed early so that students in their college careers feel able to come to us at any time with any issues that they have. All in all, our goals with communication will produce a better informed campus.
And then finally, we have change. So our first one is better mental health support on campus. I mean, I know almost every ticket runs on that every single year, but this year we're actually getting a new CAPS director, so counseling and psychological services. So we hope to work with them to bring better support on campus. I mean, yeah, therapy dogs are nice, but maybe actually informing that therapists are here would be as good as well. Finally, a better career fair. So, I mean, I'm an engineering student. I I find career fair really successful, but sitting in student government with people that aren't in engineering, I know how bad career fair is. I know there's already been steps in the current administration with some of the senators to do that. So we just want to continue those efforts in the next year. And we want to work on Greek and special interest housing because they get such a negative stigma on this campus. Like no one likes them. I mean, I live below special interest house. I wasn't the biggest fan. I didn't have the best view of them. So we kind of want to improve that and maybe even expand special interest house, like maybe an all women one, maybe things like that, an all Alana students one. We kind of want to expand that and work on that as well. So that's pretty much our platform. Thanks, guys.
Okay, thank you. And then I'm gonna ask the pre-prepared question and you'll have a minute and a half to answer that.
You're just doing it right away.
Okay. In your platform, you talk about bringing back spirit in hopes of increasing participation. This will involve participation from many organizations on campus, as well as a significant financial commitment from RIT and student government for the prizes that you talk about. Could you walk us through your plan to achieve these goals?
So before, when Project Spirit was there, student government would be at the event and you would just scan the QR code to check in and the points would just like occur on your account from the events that you would scan into. So that's pretty much how we're going to track the like going to the event, because you can't really lie to campus groups. You kind of got to scan the QR code to go. For finances, I mean, if we were able to add a potential of 2 senators this year for our student government, then there's obviously some money in the budget to do that. So we plan to use that budget instead of creating new senators to actually go toward Project Spirit.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Danelle and Brian.
Hello, everyone. My name is Danelle Francis. I am a third year studying global business management, and I was born and raised in Harlem, New York.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brian Morgan. I'm a third year computer engineering technology student here at RIT, and I'm from the Bronx, New York.
And our platform that we want to present to you today is utilizing MCAS. Now, Brian, what is MCAS?
So as many of you may know, MCAS stands for the Multicultural Center for Academic Success, and it has played a very central part in bringing in both Danelle and I both to this campus and making sure that we both stay on this campus.
And how are we going to use MCAS to approach our student body? Mental health, community service, accessibility, and student body connectivity.
In terms of mental health, a lot of students understand that RIT is very rigorous and very challenging. Us, Danelle and myself, both understand that very pretty much well, as both being a lot of students here on campus. And we want to let students know on campus that it is okay to not be okay. And we have both provided in our own leadership experiences and our leadership positions on campus that resources and events that we have both used and utilized. We would, as student government president and vice president, we would like to reach out and partner with different organizations on campus, such as DDI, CLCE, CAPS, and the DSO, to reach out with professional contacts that are both diverse and students can feel comfortable with interacting with.
Now, community service. In high school, at least as a New York City resident, you need 100 community service hours in order to be eligible for your college application. After high school, that kind of just seems to subside. Community service isn't that important, but it is important. It kind of allows you to lead a better way of life. It teaches you how to be humble and how to be selfless. A lot of Greek organizations are heavy in community service and they're held to a very high standard. And that's why the people who are involved with these organizations are always involved in networking or are always looked first for certain job opportunities. We want to make sure that our RIT community is involved within the community that we all reside in here in Rochester. What does that mean? We would like to reach out to different Rochester programs to organize ways that we can have community service events here monthly to get our students involved, whether that may be writing letters to children's and student hospital in children's hospitals, or having a food drives for shelters. And even if you don't really want to do the physical work, community service can be as small as smiling to the person next to you or giving them a high five as you walk on the quarter mile. Something as small as that can change somebody's day and will allow a better community here at RIT.
In terms of accessibility, as a WCA, Welcome Center attendant, currently located downstairs, many times the accessibility doors and accessibility ramps are unavailable, which are definitely unfair for those who are definitely in need of using it. As a student currently on campus, many a times it will be in week 6, week 7 that students don't necessarily know that they need to go to DSO for accommodations when taking exams, which is especially unfortunate when you have calculus and every Friday there's a weekly quiz. We would like to partner with the DSO to understand what that miscommunication is so that we can provide that information within the weekly newsletter that SG provides, or in the weekly updates on the Instagram page.
Now, student body connectivity, that is something that I hold near and dear to my heart. We all share the same campus, the same dining halls, the same very expensive tuition, and the same classrooms, but yet we're separated. There's just a difference, there's a divide between us. Here at RIT, we have over 300 clubs and organizations, but they're very knit. There's a very knit-pick community. We need to learn how to branch out to, let's say, the NTID community. There are two different schools here, but they're so separate. At the end of the day, we're all students. Once again, we're all paying the same tuition. We all eat at Ritz. We've all had that pasta bake. We need to understand that we can come together and sit down and have a conversation. We need to be able to find the similarities within our differences. How do we want to approach that? Focusing more on the different clubs here at RIT, except for just promoting the sports clubs here and the dance clubs here and other cultural organizations here. But the plethora of clubs that we have here, a student at RIT should never be bored. We want to open up a space for our clubs and organizations and Senate to come to us and present to us, what is your organization? What is your club about? How can we as student government directly help you prosper here in this community? That is it. Thank you.
Thank you. And my question for you guys is, one thing you speak about in your platform is student connectivity throughout campus in regards to RIT, the NTID, and cross-registered students. Could you give us some examples on how you plan on bridging the gaps between these groups, as well as how you plan to track this goal?
One thing that we plan to do is pushing for cross collaborations within different organizations. Currently, I am the president of the Alana Collegiate Association, which is the 5 RSOs here on campus, along with Outspoken, SAC, NSC, and Global Union. We have roundtables every single week, and we talk about the issues that we face, and we also plan about how we want to address those issues and how we can cross collaborate. NSC and ACA already have a good relationship, and being with the context that I already have, it'll be easier for me to reach out to them and be like, hey, we would like to accomplish this. How do you want to approach this? How would you like to approach this in this manner? And being that we are all different and we all have different ideas, once we come together and put our heads together, we can know how to approach this situation and bring our students to come. An easy way to bring students together, or people in general, is food. As long as there's food and there's an incentive, they're gonna come. And how can we track that? Campus groups, QR code, as it's been mentioned, so.
Thank you. Hey, next up we have Scott and Leia.
I would just like to preface, okay, cool, the mic doesn't seem to be working. Sit down for the mics. Okay, we're gonna sit down for the mics. So I would just like to preface, if you at all look over at this table for the remainder of this time here and you see me looking like I have a scowl or I'm mad, that's just my RBF. I can't control it. So, hi everyone. My name is Scott Franco. I am a third-year marketing MIS major. I used to be computer science and I made the stereotypical leap, and I'm from Middletown, New York.
My name is Leia. I stayed in computer science, and I'm a third year from New Hampshire.
So we're going to continue to talk straight into the mic as best as possible to make sure we're enunciating. Our platform, I'm sure you're used to rules of 3 by now, is ACT. We're acting to make RIT the right choice for everyone, but what exactly does that mean? We're going to be tackling 3 areas of issues: academic, campus climate, and transparency issues. So starting from the left to the right, A, academics. Exactly what does that mean? So starting with the first year experience. It doesn't just mean for first year students who are freshmen, it means first year students who are transfer students. Feeling like you are included and being actually considered by administration, by people for longer than just the first 1 or 2 weeks of the time you are here, and having an orientation that actually makes you feel like you understand the campus, as well as going into the remainder of the year where you take those introductory courses like RIT 365. It's how do you include things in those classrooms, in those curriculums that are going to provide you the information you need to succeed here at RIT.
The second piece of A is accessibility in education in general. As it stands, it seems that accessibility is secondary. It's more like courses are designed and then afterwards we try to figure out how to incorporate people's needs. We want that to be flipped. We want it to be, when we are designing courses, we are taking into consideration accessibility needs, reaching out to the community and figuring out what they need and where the problem areas lie.
Third, for academics, is your STEM and non-STEM students and how they experience RIT differently. So as someone who has made that leap from computer science to a business school, business degree, I know firsthand just how different it is landscape-wise to get a career in any sort of non-STEM or technical outcome. I've already made leaps to try to figure out why that is. And from my understanding, it is limitations and it is issues from employers rather than from RIT. But we can do better and we can bridge that gap. How? Career fair is obviously the #1 pain point, but it's not the only one. We want to have careers available for students in Career Connect and utilize the resources that we already have more than just as a token. Actually include those employers, tell them why they should be beneficial in putting their information on there and having them realize that there are ways to assist our career fair without having to spend as much money as they currently have to in renting a table, buying food, flying out, and everything, which are the largest expenses.
So our next letter is C for campus climate. As it stands, there are plenty of women's issues on campus that, quite frankly, need to be dealt with, and we need to be allocating the resources to do so. In order to do that, I believe we need to amplify student voices. Actively, I am trying to consolidate women's voices on campus with the various clubs and organizations so that we as a group, as a whole unified voice, can push for the things that we need. We also would like to push to take the stigma out of Title IX. As it stands, the current stigma is not helping and the current system is not effective. How can we rework that to make it more approachable and accessible for everybody who needs the resources? A second piece of the campus climate section is the RIT versus NTID gap, which is something that we're very passionate about bridging. First of all, we want to make sure that events and meetings for various clubs are accessible to this community so we can have interactions between the deaf and hard of hearing community as well as the hearing community and work together. So we want to create guidelines that clubs and groups can follow in order to make these events more accessible, both in advertising and the actual running of the event. On top of that, we believe that student government needs to be leading the charge. So we would like to require during professional development related trainings that we have to do basic ASL and deaf culture trainings to try to take away the stigma that creates the divide between these communities so that we can communicate and interact with our whole constituency instead of just the people that we identify.
Thank you. That was the 5-minute mark. And my question for you guys is, in your platform video, you discussed how many groups on campus are being left out of the discussion when it comes to RIT making informed decisions that affect these groups long term. You both served on student government as well as participated in many other roles in the RIT community. What have you done in these roles to support the groups mentioned in your platform?
I will start and then we'll let Leah talk. So I would say in my position as Saunders College Business Senator this past year, I've been able to work on issues related specifically towards non-STEM students. Primarily, I've been working on actually trying to figure out how exactly we're going to connect careers and employers to students on campus through either the career fair, through employers, through hiring a new person in Saunders to actually handle and manage all of those issues within our business school, and figuring out how to connect with other people in other colleges to understand what their unique challenges are. Flipping it to Leah.
So for me, I've currently been working heavily on women's issues, specifically engaging with committees, providing transparency for the issues that we actually face, because I have found that there is some discrepancy between what upper administration believes is happening versus what seems to be the reality. So I've been going into these situations and talking about it, as well as pushing for certain policy change. I also helped organize the event that we have been having all this month for Women's History Month to try to showcase what students are doing. On top of that, as I mentioned earlier, consolidating female voices actively happening, reaching out to my communities, different clubs and organizations. And then in addition to that, I've also been trying to push for more inclusivity within NTID, working with clubs and organizations that fall under that umbrella. And yeah.
Thank you. And then finally, we have Dan and Cass.
Just a quick word of advice. I'm going to be signing the start of my introduction, so if you want to give the microphone to the interpreter. I'll stand up for this.
Hello, my name is Daniel. My major, I'm a fourth year mechanical engineering technology student, and I am from Rochester. I am running for president of student government.
I'm going to be speaking. Hi, everyone. My name is Cass. I'm a fourth year computer science major, and I'm from Long Island, New York. So different points on our platform are specific because we wanted to hit points that we know that we can achieve next year. So starting with that, we would love to extend add drop period by a week. We believe that students need more time to really understand what they're getting themselves into during the semester. After 1 week, it's very easy to realize that like something's going wrong and you're not very prepared to be in that class, or maybe your schedule changes and that class doesn't work with your schedule anymore. Anything can happen. And we believe that extending add drop will alleviate some of that stress within the first couple of weeks of the semester and helping with academic success. On top of that, other schools, such as U of R, actually have add drop this long. So we would like to see RIT follow in the same pursuit. And then a next point that we have is club advocacy. We want to make sure that clubs are supported as much as possible. So for example, we want them to know that SG does have a finance committee and that they have so many resources from student government that they may not know about. We would like to rely on our senators to be able to for club fairs or other events within their colleges to make sure that it's transparent what clubs exist in their colleges and how we can better support them. And on top of that, kind of being a good resource for how we can better become accessible for these clubs, make sure that they, like say they have trouble finding a room or something, and it's like a constant issue, they can come to us and sort of be like, hey, this is an issue. And then, we can find them the right resources for that. And then Dan?
Yeah, so I started off my introduction with ASL. That's not a party trick. I wanted to do that as an homage to where I've come from. I grew up in a CODA household, which means I'm a child of a deaf adult. My mom's actually here. And so I grew up with a deaf parent. In that, I've grown up in the Rochester community and in the NTID community specifically for this, before I came here. Because of this, one thing that I really want to hit home on this platform is advocating for NTID students. Now, a lot of people will say, that they prioritize, accessibility and bridging the gap between the NTID community, and that's a wonderful thing. I think everybody should pursue that. However, there are some issues that NTID students face on this campus that those are barriers. One of those being, ever since NTID was established, students on NTID scholarships, so cross-registered and NTID students, are required to live in dorms for 2 years. It actually used to be 3 years. It was reduced a while back to 2. I think it's about time that we reduce this to 1 year so that our incoming NTID students have the same fair policies that our hearing students do on campus. In terms of general accessibility, I think we took a really great step forward this year by establishing our accessibility committee. However, I do want to bring back our Deaf Advocacy Committee. I think getting rid of it ended up kind of clogging up our accessibility committee. Not that that's a bad thing. I think discussing those issues in accessibility is very good, but I think those two committees should be split and we should have a full-time deaf advocacy chair. So our accessibility issues can be met and run more efficiently, and so as well as our deaf advocacy as well. Some other things, accessibility related, our campus is going to go through an audit in the summer. They're going to be bringing in an outside group to investigate our general mobility and accessibility on campus. I want students to be involved in that. I want them to have direct communication with that company, outside company or evaluation team. I also want students to be have access to that report when it is finished as well. One other thing, incoming students, I think, don't have enough knowledge about our exploration programs. As somebody who came in through the university exploration program, which is unfortunately being canned at the end of this year, it was very helpful. I did not know what I wanted to do, and many students come here and end up changing their majors because they didn't think that what they signed up for was really a good fit for them. So I'm gonna, as part of our platform, I want to promote those exploration programs more in those colleges so students can come in with a wider scope of majors that they have access to.
Great. And then my question for you guys is, your mission statement states putting the student back in student life. And you talk about the various ways you plan on making students experience better here at RIT, including being an advocate for all students on this campus. Could you give us a more in-depth look into how you plan on creating a safe environment for all students?
Sure, I'll speak a little bit on that. When I talk to students on campus and, looking on social media forums, I noticed that a lot of them feel that the RIT administration does not want to hear what they have to say. And when working in student government, I've come to find out that that necessarily isn't always the case. There are administrators here that do actually care about the students' voices. However, there isn't really much of a communication bridge there. If you guys vote me in as president, I want to open up more channels. SG is a wonderful channel for student advocacy, but I think we should also take more of a role to just give open conversation channels to our administrators. For example, I'm the Housing and Dining Committee Chair currently right now. And in that, we've encountered some issues with students regarding their meal plans. And something that we prioritized setting up was a direct conversation with the heads of RIT Dining. And in that, I got a report back from our director of RIT Dining that open conversation with students was some of the most fruitful conversations he's ever had. So opening up more of those communication channels will give our students more faith in our administration and give more trust in them to actually advocate for our student needs. And in another sense, give our administrators an actual pulse on how the campus feels about certain decisions they want to make or future decisions that they want to make.
Okay, thank you guys all so much. We're gonna start the Q&A portion of the afternoon. So as you guys can raise your hand and have questions, and we have a mic behind me right here that you can come up and ask them into. The interpreters will have a microphone for the students who want to sign and ask a question. So just raise your hand and direct the question to which team you want to direct the question to, and we'll get started.
I have a question for Dan and Cass. What you said in your platform is that you'd like to reduce the amount of time that needs to be spent in a dorm for the students to 1 year. And I know that NTID is federally funded and it's part of their guidelines and part of the reduced tuition that we're able to get. So how are you going to work through the federal policy there?
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. Right. Thank you for asking that question. That's actually, that was something that I was worried about. I didn't want to put anything on my platform that I know I wasn't going to be able to achieve. But doing some research into that, I mentioned previously that the old policy was that they had to stay in dorm, NTID students had to stay in dorms for 3 years and it was reduced to 2. I reached out to the former president, Bobby Moakley, who actually got that change done. And the dorm housing requirement is actually an RIT policy. If I go to RIT directly, I think I can actually be able to get it done. More specifically, how I'm going to be able to get that done, or how I'm going to try and be able to get that done, is prove to administrators that engagement with the deaf and hard of hearing community on this campus still continues even after they leave dorms. That was something that Bobby did and proved successfully. In proving that, we will have to pull some data from campus groups to show that from that second year to the third year, students are still engaged in events run by NTID and SLT. And I do believe that's true because I've been to numerous NTID SLT events this semester, and I do see a lot of upperclassmen presence there. I think the deaf community is one of the strongest on campus and the most tight knit. And if we were able to successfully prove that, I believe that the administrators who I've had a wonderful working relationship with, I have great relationships with Dr. Buckley and RIT housing directors. I believe that we'll actually be able to get that change done.
Great, thank you. We're gonna go to the next question.
I'm just gonna SimCom. I have a question. Can you hear me okay? Okay. I have a question for, how do you pronounce your name? Danelle. And Brian, so you said you had a really good relationship with NTID and specifically NSC. Can you explain on that, considering that some of us are from the NTID community, so we're very curious how you hope to continue that relationship with NSC specifically. Thank you.
So as I mentioned before, we share these roundtables. We have them weekly. We sit down for an hour just to talk about issues and problems that we face. And a lot of the times when ACA talks about their issues and NSC rather talks about their issues, we realize a lot of crossover. And as much as we want to spend time to plan those fun events between the Deaf Basketball Association and intramurals, we'd like to focus on the nitty gritty. Why is that students of color are being looked over at the same time as students who are hard of hearing being looked over, just because professors or their counterparts feel like they'll be difficult to work with? In doing so, we want to just provide advocacy or just speak to professors and talk to them and say, hey, this is how you need to address students and accommodate for these students who you're not used to accommodating for.
Thank you. You're welcome. We're going to move on to the next question.
It's a little shorter than me. I'm just going to lean over. My question is for Darcy and JT. So for context, I'm the senator for the School of Individualized Study. You touched a little bit on wanting to improve career opportunities in the career fair for non-technical students, and that's something that Scott and Leah also discussed. I've personally had experience working with Scott and seeing concrete steps to improve that. So I'd like to hear some more concrete details about how you're going to make a difference and change that for non-technical students.
Okay, so I mean, like I said, I'm in engineering and JT's in the College of Science, so we are a little bit more technical side. But also, like I said in my platform, I'm gonna work with you and Scott because I know you guys made huge steps this year. Like, I'm not planning to just start over from scratch. Like, I want to hear your problems. I want to hear pain points from people in those colleges. First, like, who do they want to see at career fair? I want to talk to the career fair, the Career and Co-op Services office, figure out why that's not happening. Can we have a smaller one maybe for non-technical majors? Things like that. Like, I want to hear input from what you guys have done and just build on that mostly.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hello. So my question is for Scott and Leah. Your platform mentions that you wish to empower our student leaders from diverse Alana backgrounds to be able to contribute and make policy changes regarding the Alana community. As the current president of the Black Awareness Coordinating Committee, as well as the ACA presidential candidate, I would like to know how you plan on doing this step by step, because I personally have not seen you at our general body meetings until you guys got yelled at in Senate. So I just want to know so that way we can work together in the future.
Okay, that's perfectly reasonable, obviously. So I myself am Hispanic, as I've made very clear in that video, but if you look at me, I'm white passing, and I have my own set of unique circumstances and challenges that I face every day as a white passing individual who is Hispanic, but I also don't know the veracity and the variety of different issues that people that live like Black, live like Hispanic, live like et cetera have. And when it comes to RIT, even though I don't know those issues and challenges, what I do know and face is the fact that just in general, while I'm on campus, I have to live a certain way and act a certain way with people just because there is such a minority of others that I can talk to and share experiences with, because this is an 80% dominated white campus. And the issue is really lying in not enrollment, because students are coming in, but where you really have to look at it is that students are also coming out. This is not a place that feels homely, that wants you to feel like you want to stay longer than that first semester, first year. And it's because student leaders who actually know what they're talking about are not being put on those policy and decision-making committees with administration that can actually give input to the white and older generation of people who are making those decisions on what money is going where, who is doing what. And it's a matter of, hey, if you're ACA president, you're not just supposed.
Thank you.
Okay, so my question is for Dan and Cass, and I want to know, how is the Committee for Deaf and Hard of Hearing Students different from XSAB, the Cross-Registered Student Advisory Board?
Yeah, so how Deaf Advocacy Committee worked in the past was it was run by, I believe, our cross-registered senator and NTID senator. I want this to be just like any other committee that we have in student government internally, with a dedicated committee chair meeting every week, just exactly like Accessibility Committee, for example. I think there is opportunity for great collaboration between Cross-Registered Student Advisory Board and this committee, and I think it would be an even more united front to have those. Also, Deaf Advocacy doesn't just cover cross-registered students, it also covers our NTID students as well.
And sorry, to add on to that point, we think it's very helpful to have something internal to SG, as it allows, I think, our organization as a whole to be able to really promote and support our NTID and cross-registered students.
Hello, my question is for Danelle and Brian. In your platform, you mentioned wanting to create adequate mental health resources for students at RIT. Could you give me an example of a resource that you'd like to create or revitalize?
Definitely. So we mentioned that we're kind of running off of MCAS, and MCAS is the, correct me if I'm wrong, please, Multicultural Center for Academic Success. What they currently do is they bring in an African-American woman who is a therapist twice a week on Mondays and Wednesdays, and she's just open to talk to students who need it. And if they can do that for African-American students, they can do that for students who are identify as Asian or anywhere under Alana, or for anybody in the LGBTQ community, because asking for therapy or asking for help is hard, especially when you're asking it from somebody who doesn't necessarily look like you. It's easier to talk to somebody who you believe can share the same experiences as you. So as long as we talk to DDI, MCAS, if we get in contact with CAPS and DSO, and they can use their resources to help us, and they can bring in their professionals that we can aid, not just students who look like us, but students who represent the entire campus.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So my question is for Darcy and JT. So I'm the current director of student relations, and Paw Prints is my baby. So my question for you guys is, you specifically mentioned Paw Prints as a resource for students. Do you have any plans regarding possible improvements or edits you'd like to make to the current Paw Print system to best advocate for students?
So I think Paw Prints is effective in its current way, except that students don't even know that it exists. Like, I told my residents the other day about they wanted murals on all the buildings on campus. And I was like, oh, do you know that there's a Paw Print out about that right now? Even just getting that out more would help improve the whole general use of Paw Prints. I mean, how many Paw Prints are out there that don't even hit threshold? For being honest. And there are things that students want, they just don't know it's out there. But when we have town halls as well, that is a direct way to talk to us about problems on campus before going right to Paw Prints. You can actually just directly talk to us. You can bring students for support and things like that.
And just one thing to emphasize, we have no plans to cancel Paw Prints or anything like that. We just think that town halls are a good way to provide that direct connection between students and our government.
My question is for Scott and Leah. You guys mentioned accessible course design. So what kind of protocols are you planning on implementing? Is this only for new courses that you want to have written with accessible syllabi or whatever? Or are you going to require professors to rewrite all of their class syllabuses to meet these whatever protocols you're suggesting?
So I'd like to start with the answer. So it's less of a protocol being implemented campus-wide. It's more of a making it transparent from a professor's side to the student body of what they are going to be doing and what requirements are going to be expected of a student to be able to actually participate in that class. So if you need physical movement to accomplish a goal in a class to actually pass that class, that should be transparent so you don't find that out day 3 or day 4 or after drop period ends. And when it comes to the other aspects, when it comes to
When it comes to actual moving forward with course design and various things like that, I see what you're saying. It might be considered unreasonable to go back and revise all the syllabuses, but highly encouraging professors and deans and everybody who's doing these course designs to acknowledge that there needs to be some more flexibility for students with disabilities in order to allow them to learn effectively, because realistically, nobody should be struggling to learn in a place that they pay to learn. So, yeah.
My question is for all the candidates. I was just wondering how you guys, where you guys think the biggest area for growth in your platforms is, and how do you hope to achieve that growth?
We're gonna start over here and go down.
What do you mean by that? Like, what of our platform forms we can grow the most, or what we think we can improve on the campus the most?
Like, some of your platform points are really solidified. Where do you think where do you think your biggest weakness of your platform is, and how do you hope to grow that the rest of it?
Yeah, if you're ready, you can go. No?
Okay, you guys keep talking. Okay, so obviously we have the 3 C's. So probably our C that we have to work the most on is change. I mean, Morgan brought it up. I am an engineering major. I don't exactly know the struggles, so improving on that. I mean, I don't understand all the struggles of all the different people on campus. I mean, as you can see, we're both white. Actually talking to students that aren't white like us and hearing their struggles, hearing their grievances about the university is probably the biggest area that we have to grow as humans.
For us, testing, thank you. For us, we think that the biggest area might be community service, because even though it sounds nice on paper, a lot of students might think, oh, this is just extra work that I have to do on top of my classes, my actual job, and now homework and things of that nature. But we really want to allow students to see that community service shouldn't feel like a burden. It should just be innate. And it may be hard to get that across, but if it's not hard, why are we not working towards it? You understand? We need to work towards these things. And it'll also allow students, like I mentioned before, to lead a better way of life, but it may be hard to approach the students and be like, we think that you should do community service because giving back to your community is a good thing and it can help you personally. Testing, can we get his mic?
Testing?
Thank you.
There we go. Just to add on to that. Ooh, too loud. Okay. To add on to that, I know I myself, coming from the Bronx, New York, doing community service back in high school, public transportation was a thing. It's kind of not a thing up here.
Yeah.
And having to rely on someone constantly to provide transportation for you to actually get somewhere for community service has been a barrier. I know that may be a barrier as well to many other students on campus. So letting students know that there are actually community service events that you can actually do on here on campus. You don't actually have to go that far. Is also another thing as well.
We think that the part of our platform that can probably grow the most is club advocacy, because it's such, I think, a broad term, and we want to emphasize that it does relate to all students on campus. So we want to make sure we want to make sure that when we're supporting our clubs, that we really are supporting every single club on campus. How can we make sure that these clubs are accessible? How can we make sure that our LGBTQ plus community members feel safe on campus? How can we make sure different marginalized groups on campus feel safe and welcome, and and relying on our senators and our committee chairs, cabinet members, Outspoken, ACA, Global Union. How can we rely on those different groups to really make sure that these clubs are supported?
Yeah, sure, and I'll jump in a little bit. We don't want to take the job and the responsibilities of our club office. They already provide a lot of resources financially in support of our clubs. However, I do think that sometimes clubs do feel that they're kind of having their toes stepped on a bit. And opening that communication channel with student government, I think, would be, a step in the right direction. And increasing clubs' awarenesses of the resources that are provided through that office as well.
So for us, I think it's the fact that there are groups that we want to advocate for and support that we are not a part of. In general, we want all groups on campus to feel supported, and no ticket ever in the history of student government can concretely say that they have every single group on campus solidly represented within their president and vice president candidate. But part of our platform, the thing that we find most important, is making sure that the people you elect into these positions have a voice and are being put in front of upper administration, in committees, in front of people, to make sure that you are being advocated for. And on top of that, us listening to your experiences, the ones that we do not understand because of that. So we want to work with you guys directly and in your groups, in your clubs, in your different areas of life. So I would say for us, that would be our weakest point.
Hi again. My question this time is for Darcy and JT. One of the things that you've mentioned is wanting to have more town halls kind of like this for students to come and express their issues. I know as a member of Senate previously, I know that every Senate meeting is open to the entire RIT community, but most of the time only the active Senate members are attending. So how do you plan on getting the general student body to attend Senate and to be informed on the things that SG is actively working on?
So I don't know if you guys know this, but Greg, the current Greek senator, and Jake Long, the current CET senator, actually tried to have these town halls like in the fall. They did, I think, 2 of them. And from what I've heard from them, they were really effective. So, I mean, even using that as a launching point for, hey, do you know that we have Senate on Fridays? But using like promoting, like our promoting material, like marketing and stuff as well. I mean, we've seen the videos of like Addie walking around campus, or Lucas last year, and they would just like take the tote bags and like walk around and be like, oh, have you heard like voting is open really soon? Have you heard about have you registered to vote in general? Walking around campus, just like literally talking to students about what we have on campus would probably get them to come out more.
Communicating with the entire campus in general just opens so many pathways. Like even just having a town hall and pushing, say, okay, Senate is open every Friday, then people go to Senate, you see someone walking around on campus handing out tote bags or something like that. Hey, come to Senate. They go to Senate, they have an issue, now they come to town hall. It all links together. So we're really trying to push communication hard, and town halls, I think, are a great way to do that.
And possibly making Senate at a more convenient time. I mean, this is a really inconvenient time for me in the middle of my day. So maybe making it a more convenient time that more people can actually go to it.
Thank you.
In the purple.
Hi, my question is for Danelle and Brian. In your platform, you have mentioned helping individuals with disabilities if they were having trouble getting to a building or the lights were bothering them. Today, you mentioned problems addressing the DSO and accommodations. In my personal experience, I have had difficulty with the communication between professors and the DSO for accommodating or for providing my accommodations. And in some cases that results in me not getting the full extent of my accommodations, or at all. How do you plan to communicate and address this problem with professors in the DSO? In addition, how do you plan to communicate with individuals with disabilities to prevent and solve future problems?
Thank you for the question. That's a really good question. A lot of students don't know about the Ombuds office, which is essentially ethical governing or just like an HR for the entire school. With Ashley and Joe, they're great people. What they do, they serve as liaisons for students or even faculty and staff who have any issues with either another student or a faculty and staff on campus. So like if you have an issue with your professor and they're not listening to you, they're completely disregarding you and the accessibility and your accessibility needs, you can reach out to the Ombuds office and you can file a report with them and they will handle it and they will keep it confidential. Because a lot of times when students are dealing with a disability, they don't want the entire world to know, which is understandable. And we want to show our faces as people as you can come to. We want to look at you. We want you guys to look at us like a subsection of Ombuds. So you can come to us as we would be mandated reporters and we could handle these situations for you, because a lot of times it's hard for students to speak up and really ask for what they need, but it wouldn't be hard for us because we are here to support you in doing so.
Good, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Hi guys. So my question, oh gosh, I lost it. Okay, so this is for all of you. Why president and vice president? What made you guys want to run?
Start off. I am a natural born leader. have always been involved in something in school. I am a fixer. I am a helper. I always want to fix things. I always put other people before myself, which is also a strength and a weakness of mine. But I was always involved in something. My very first year here, I was a 2020 baby, so I graduated 2020. Came to college in the midst of a global pandemic, so it was kind of a trial and error, and I wanted to be involved in something. I was sitting there on my laptop during the virtual career fair, and I was just like, everything is red. Where's the green? I want to be involved in something. And then I found my way to the Caribbean Student Association. My first year, I was a freshman referred to the Caribbean Student Association. My second year, I served as the president of the Black Awareness Coordinating Committee, but I didn't even apply for the position. I had just gone to an event, and the current president my first year said that she saw my energy, she loved my personality, and she thought I would be a great fit for this position. So as my second year, I served as the president for BACC and the vice president for the Caribbean Student Association. I want to serve to help the people, the students, because I know I have the ability to do so. And this year, I serve as the president for the Atlanta Collegiate Association, where I represent not only Africans, Latins, Asian, and Native American students. And in doing so, I've done a great job. And I want to take that and broaden that. I also want to make our presence as minority students here on campus known and show that we can be supported by people who look like us. Would you like to answer?
Yeah. So for me, okay, there we go. So for me, it deals with, so last semester, I actually joined my first set of e-boards.
Can we get 31 seconds? Yeah, we'll do 1 minute and 30 for each president and vice president for this answer.
So for me, I actually joined my first set of e-boards. I applied to NSBE as fundraising chair, and I applied to CSA as public relations. Both of those positions I quickly excelled in, and I eventually ended up as vice president now for NSBE. Right? And now I'm currently secretary for CSA. Both my hard work for both those organizations showed, and Danelle approached me, and I felt confident in those leadership abilities, and I was like, I'll back you as your vice president.
And there's so much more work that can get done on this campus and issues that we both feel we can address with our experience as leaders on this campus.
For me, I've kind of always been a problem solver, so to speak. I recently took presidency of Theta Chi fraternity here on campus. And during that time, I really kind of became addicted to trying to get things done, just work towards progress that we really wanted to get done. And I saw that similar connection in student government recently. I was kind of a late bloomer as far as wanting to go for a position on student government. But as soon as I saw Darcy's platform and her passion and all that, I was just like, all right, I'm all in. And so I dive deep into things very, very quickly, and I'm really excited to see where things go. So yeah.
So if you guys don't know, I was a varsity athlete here on campus for 4 years. So I it was my life. I was a varsity soccer player, I was the goalie, and I loved it with all of my life. And I got to a point last year where I realized that my mental health was completely and utterly deteriorating. I wasn't myself anymore. Like I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror. So I had to quit my varsity sport, and I lost this huge identity that I've had since I've been here. But what I always told my parents was that I did so much more. I'm on the Women in Engineering Leadership Board, and I have been for the last 2 years. I've run events with Women in Engineering since I actually stepped foot here on campus. I also am a tour guide, so I like walk around. If you ever see those crazy people walking backwards, that's me. And I recently just got promoted in there, and I'm a tour trainer now, so I train people to give tours. But I mean, if you guys know me, I'm very approachable. I love to talk to people. I love to hear about stories. I'm even an RA, like I hear stories that way too. And when I joined student government this year, I never had the intention of becoming president. I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna serve my college and that's gonna be it. And then when I stepped in and I saw the power that student government holds, I realized that president was for me, and I realized that I can lead people. I mean, I even tried to help fix the problem that we had this year in student government. So, I mean, I hope everyone internally saw how hard that was for me, but I stepped up and I hope to do that same thing next year.
So for me, I have walked at many different, I guess, walks here on campus. Oh my God, words. Hi, I'm a part of Alpha Sigma Alpha sorority on campus. I'm also a part of the Society of Software Engineers over in Golisano. I've been in student government before. I've been in some other just smaller organizations on campus. So I've walked many different walks on this campus, and I'm a very organized person. I hold a position right now in the Society of Software Engineers where I do like projects, and I'm able to easily, like not easily, I'm able to work to put on events and stuff. And I think vice president is a role that really fits myself as with that organization. And also just my experience in like the governing world. I held the parliamentarian chair in Alpha Sigma Alpha. And yeah, on top of that, I really love it here at RIT. There's no other way to really explain it. I love what the students can really do on this campus. I love that the students have a voice in the governing body, and I love that we actually have like places to go when we want to make change and want to really be heard. And that's why vice president.
Let me know I'm ready. All good? Yeah, so I actually, going through high school and coming into here, I didn't actually have many leadership opportunities that I took advantage of. I was kind of that weird kid in high school who ate lunch in the robotics room. Coming in here, I really wasn't involved in much. I was in Baja my first year here, and then COVID hit, and then everyone was sad, and I wasn't involved in everything. Then I took the first step in leadership. I didn't realize it at the time with new student orientation in 2020. Did it just because I thought it would be fun and I got to goof around, but it ended up being the start of my leadership career on campus. That transformed into residence life. I've been an RA for 2 years now, and you don't think of it when you come in, but you really do exercise leadership skills almost constantly. And then really coming into student government, coming in as a first year, I looked up at the president up on the stage during convocation. I was like, I'm never going to do that. That's so dumb. And here I am now. And, joining student government, I really initially joined because I was sick and tired of having mice in my dorm room. And I came in to nicely ask housing to fix the problem. And then that evolved into housing and dining, where I really just had a list of issues that I wanted to address, improvements to the student life experience in dorms and then the dining halls. And really, going back to that, that's why I want to run for president. I want to serve. I want to have issues that are solved.
So I'd just like to preface for that first part of your question, why president and vice president. We are viewing ourselves as equals on this ticket. We do not think either one of us is more qualified than the other. We think that if I ever have to step down, she should be just as competent as me to take on this role. There should not be a difference in power, and we're going to treat ourselves like that. As for why I want to be president, like I said before, I used to be computer science. My entire identity during high school was being engineering, computer science. And then I came in during COVID, and my entire identity disappeared after I failed 4 classes and I was on academic probation my second semester here. I was ready to transfer out, and I wasn't sure RIT was for me. And I'm not alone in that sentiment. There are so many people like me on this campus that don't have a voice, that don't feel represented, that feel like they need someone to talk for them, but they can't make that first step because they don't know how to. I know how they feel, and I want to fight for them. That's why.
As for me, I am a woman on campus. I am also a woman in Jesus. For me, during my first and second year was ending up in a lot of situations that were making me feel not only put down, but in some cases in danger. And it was very scary at times. And so for me, during my second year last year, I started submitting transfer applications. I was like, I can't do it anymore. This is too much. I need to go somewhere else. And I've talked with other women around me, and a lot of people have felt very similarly. While submitting transfer applications, I got the email from student government, and I went, you know what, whatever. Instead of leaving, I'm gonna try to make a difference. And so all year, I have spent my year working on women's issues, attempting to fix them, and still, to some extent, felt ignored. And that's not cool. And then I've continued to work with other groups to try to figure out how they feel outside of what I represent and what I feel. They also feel the same sentiment. In general, there are a lot of groups who feel ignored. And I believe that in my position as vice president with Scott, we can get those groups into the rooms where they will be listened to, won't be ignored, where we can make genuine, actual change. And I am very passionate about making sure that that happens.
Thank you all so much, truly. Thank you.
Hello, I have a question for all the candidates. So all the president and vice president pairings have some SG experience in your time. Do you feel that there are any problems with SG as a whole? And if so, can you provide one example and how to fix it?
On that, one thing that I have had an issue with student government as my time here in SG is the term SG proper and how that separates RSOs from the rest of SG. That's just one of my issues, because that goes to show that RSOs are not as important as the rest of the cabinet members, even though we do the same amount of work, maybe even more, because we're advocating for groups who usually aren't listened to. So that's my first issue. My second issue is the lack of professionalism and seriousness that is held throughout the Senate, especially when we're supposed to be addressing issues that our students are facing on this campus currently, but instead the Senate would like to spend 10 minutes laughing about a toy. That's my issue. If we were to assume these positions, there's a difference between friends, colleagues, and peers. When we come into this room, for those 2 hours that we have, those 120 minutes, we need to be handling business. No side conversations, no laughter, no little sly comments on the Discord chats, none of that. You guys are here for a reason. These are paid positions, so it's a job. Handle yourselves accordingly. So that's one issue that I would like to address.
Anyone in this year's student government sees the divide that we have, divide between both RSOs, cabinet, senators, like that should not even exist. Like, I don't understand why there's a divide. And we all say we're trying to fix it, but there's been no steps to fix it. We're not communicating with each other. We're not talking to each other. We were in senators meeting. Some of us didn't even know when soiree was. We didn't even know what soiree is, and it's literally a month out. The basis of all the problems in student government come from communication, and we want open communication, but in a way that, you can't be completely transparent, but as transparent as it can be.
First off, I want to commend student government. I think their engagement with the student body this year has been phenomenal. However, we have the students' attention. What are we going to do with it? I feel like our direction has been a little bit misguided this year. I think, an effective organization wants to be unified in all senses and push towards a common goal. I think, and I can be at fault for this as well, I think everyone's kind of pursuing their own agenda, and it's a little bit scatterbrained. I think having leadership that has a common, wants to share a common goal with everybody and actual deliverable to be delivered to the students, I think would unite the organization, push it forward. And when students say, what does student government do? Oh, they did that, and they can do more.
And to add to that, that's not to say that each senator, each committee chair, each cabinet member shouldn't have their own agenda coming into student government. It's also to add that we should share a common goal that together, like, we can achieve within student government.
As for us, transparency within student government is obviously something that we're extremely passionate about, but it also stems from just the fact that we feel student government, while the marketing is better this year, we kind of still have noticed that we only really blip into existence within election time, and then people don't really know who we are. And it's not a fault of a lack of marketing, it's that we just need to put in more effort into our marketing by adding on to the team, by giving more resources to marketing and ensuring that people know what we're doing outside of a weekly update and figuring out how to make things efficient and public. It's not just, can we pull people into a room every once in a while to talk to them about what we've done? It's about me spending the rest of my afternoons going forward, just going into dining halls and talking with random students and pestering them about what we're doing directly. Thankfully, I have that ability and liberty to do so as a business student who has maximized his credit load. But this is just like one of the few things that are efficient and possible to do that we aren't doing this year, just because people are overtaxing themselves and are unsure what direction they want to go, because not everyone has one North Star right now. And that's something that can be amended, but it has to be done quickly. Transitions also.
As well as just general communication and a hierarchy that's currently happening, maybe being eliminated, more interaction between cabinet, Senate, like president, vice president, and making sure everybody's helping everybody else get into the situations they need.
Thank you.
My question is for Darcy and JT. It's regarding the first part of your platform regarding Project Spirit. So it was recently brought to my attention that with RIT's legal rules, something like that might not be possible. So how would you go around, like, even though I don't necessarily agree with that, how would you go about that part of your platform if you aren't able to do exactly what you were intending on doing?
So I actually already opened some pathways talking to upper administration about this and about how it worked before. I don't know if the legal rules have changed since Project Spirit was there, but even just like modifying it slightly, like, I mean, maybe giving like smaller giveaways, not just such big ones, things like that, making it fair. But we're gonna make sure that we get that to the best of our ability and just work with the upper administration that was here when Project Spirit already had run and build on what they did before.
Thank you.
I am too short. Hi. All right, so I guess this is a general question, but I guess I'm gonna bring some candidates up specifically. But I feel like there has been a lot of conversation about listening to people who you may not experience the same things that they do, like related to their race or sexual orientation. But my question is listening or just simply communicating doesn't do justice, but changes in action do? So what actions are you hoping to complete moving forward to really make a difference? Because I feel like although the student body of people of color, LGBT, and things like that are not like the highest numbers, they do make a lot of what you guys work with, like who you guys are going to be communicating with. Because the welcome desk that's right across from SG, I work there. They work there. A lot of us work here, and we all have like a lot of different backgrounds. And a little side note, there was a comment made, Scott, during your campaign that RIT is too white. And although like statistically, I agree, all right, but there's certain things that like in your campaign, I guess, shouldn't be said. And if you're gonna say stuff like that, it should probably be like backed up in a way, like, because saying that is okay, but why, what was the purpose in that, I guess? Like, what was the meaning behind that and going forward?
So the purpose behind saying that, obviously, it's very inflammatory. It's very loud to say that, just in a psychological sense. It's just my genuine perspective on this campus. It's not a message that I'm rallying people behind. It's how I feel. When I walk around this campus, when I interact with people, like I said before, I just have to act a certain way. And it's because that is how I can best fit in and communicate with people. When it comes to backing up what I'm saying, it's the issue of, for specifically the Alana community, there have been faculty committees put into place designated to actually lead the Alana direction in charge of policies going forward that were constituted of 3 people, all 3 of which being old white men, none of which have anything to do relation-wise to any of the Alana offices on campus in any capacity. So it's when that happens, it's a call to action for you to realize that sometimes there are instances you can forgive, but there are times when you need to act, or else the direction will not move and it will stay stagnant. And it's adding in student voices, because obviously everyone realizes that the most valuable feedback comes directly from students. And we have those leaders, ACA president, ACA vice president, all of ACA is not just there to organize their affiliates, they're also there to lead the charge for that specific community. You have the governance for it, but sometimes you guys are being ignored by upper administration for that reason. And it's how do we get that to stop?
Jump in. So I'll bring an example. Recently, we had the President's Commission on Women. Leah, I had a question. How many women students were on the President's Commission for Women?
I was the only one at the beginning of the year.
I think that's a little ridiculous when we're talking about the climate of the experience of women student on campus. When you have one person from a governance organization, one student, and you know, RIT loves to talk about how it wants to improve its experience for marginalized students. Well, you know, you can come up with these ideas from administrators that are paid to make decisions, or you could ask the students that are going through that experience. So really creating more open channels, more student panels, more candid conversations. You know, our ACA prospective president, I think, made a great point. Have those candid conversations. Cut the BS out. I want to have a real conversation with people. You know, obviously respectfully. You don't want to put each other down. But I want candid conversations with students. I want them to tell it to me straight up. I want to be that straight up person. No fluff, no frills, just solutions.
To speak to Dan's point, I think it's all about advocacy and also saying what needs to be said. A lot of you in this room who know me can attest to that when it comes to saying what needs to be said, I'm gonna say it. It doesn't matter if it's to Dr. Jenkins, Dr. Munson, Jim Waters. If it needs to be said, it needs to be said. Because how am I, with the position that I have as ACA president, know about the issues, know about the Unity House mural that was knocked down in 2016 when Trump was elected, and has yet to be painted back. If I'm sitting down in a meeting talking to Munson, I'm going to bring it up, and I have brought it up. We were told that it was going to get fixed. It hasn't been fixed. We're just asking for 3 lines, a black, yellow, and a green that represents Unity House. So it's all about advocacy and also not being afraid to speak up. If I want to talk to NTID about something, I'm gonna go to NTID and I'm gonna talk to them about something. If I wanna talk to Outspoken about something, I'm gonna talk to them, be like, what issues are you guys facing, so that I can bring it up and I can say something. Because of my position here that I've held not only as ACA president, but also a part of SG, I've been listened to. I've also been respected. People hear what I have to say and they take heed. They don't think I'm just chatting.
So for getting people, your question was like getting people connected, right? How to talk to the people, right? Yeah. How are you going to hear different?
Yeah, a lot of the time we just say we're going to listen to people, but like, what are you going to do like with what you learn from people?
Yeah, sorry, just so many conversations. I just wanted to make sure. So One of the biggest things that I learned this year is that upper administration is willing to hear things. They're willing to have student panels. For example, I'm in the accessibility committee right now, and they made a paw print about Munson riding a wheelchair, and it actually sparked this like whole conversation about maybe sitting down at a roundtable meeting with President Munson and talking about it. And one of the people that comes to accessibility regularly, her name is Elliot, actually came and told us that yesterday she was on a panel and got to talk to upper administration about all the accessibility issues for first years on campus. It's as simple as opening pathways for students to talk to upper administration and using their voice. They want to hear us. I know they do. They just don't know how to get us involved to hear it, and student government can be that platform.
As far as taking actions, I would say that one of my weakest points as a candidate is the fact that I maybe haven't stepped out of my bubble as far as I should outside my own events within my fraternity, outside of Greek life in general. But that being said, I did that earlier this semester when I got pied for an hour at a GU event. And it was one of the most electric, fun experiences I've had. So I look forward to stepping out of my bubble more, learning all of these different experiences, having these conversations with these people, and being able to apply that if elected.
Thank you.
So my question is for Darcy. Earlier you brought up the divide in SG currently between the different positions. Have you or are you currently planning on doing anything about that? And if elected as the leader of the organization, how would you prevent that from happening next year?
So obviously this year I haven't done too much about it. I brought up the conversation at retreat. We all know I stood up and I dropped a couple F-bombs, and I talked very real with everyone about how we felt. And I was more so hoping, because I'm in a lesser role than other people, that people in the upper administration would take that and they'd be like, you know what? We're going to do something, and nothing's happened. So quite frankly, this year, I'm going to do nothing about it because no one's willing to do anything about it. But next year, I think the problem is that there are so many closed door conversations that we hear about. We hear about, like, as senators compared to cabinet, we hear about the closed door conversations that happen, the conversations that happen about us. I want to kind of eliminate that next year, not have it's not like a popularity contest. It's not how much you're liked in student government. It shouldn't matter what you say on that one-off occasion. And just eliminating those side conversations would really help the student government in general.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, that is the perfect question. That was my next question, actually. So I had two questions in one. So I know, like, one of you guys have mentioned the divide between the cabinet, senators, RSOs, etc. How would you, this is all a question for all of you, how would you pick your cabinet specifically? Like, would you base it on just an application you're just looking, oh, like the best person, or would you base it on who you know, how do you know them, etc.?
Yeah, so yeah, that's a great question, by the way, and I'm glad you brought that up. Right now, I don't know who's going to be in my cabinet, and I think that's a good thing. I haven't told anybody, hey, you're in for cabinet. I haven't done that. Haven't made any promises. I want the application to come forward, and I want to look at everybody objectively. I want to see their accomplishments that they previously had. If they had prior experience in the organization, I want that to be a priority piece. If I know that person, fantastic. That's great. I want to build new relationships with new people. I want highly qualified and motivated individuals in this organization that genuinely want to improve the student life on campus. I want people who I won't be afraid of delegating a task to them, or, hey, you're really passionate about that issue, go tackle it. I'll give you full support. I want people coming in here who want to make change.
In terms of electing people for our cabinet, that will be tricky because a person on paper and a person in person is completely different. They can write you all the stories that you want to make it look nice and maybe even put on a front for the interview, but maybe once they get into the work and they see that, oh, this is serious, or you're actually telling me what to do, they may start to switch and act different. So prevention is better than the cure. So once we have our established cabinet, I will set that foundation as to what is expected as you as a senator, a committee chair, as an RSO, that we are not friends in this situation, we are colleagues, and we're here to work towards the same goal. And if you have any issues, I am an open book. I am an open door that we are an open door that you can come to and speak to about anything. And we need to address the issue at the source, because problems are not like wine. They do not get better over time. If you let them sit and fester and boil over, it's just going to create more issues in the future. So I'm not going to pick people who I know who are my friends. Just like Dan said, if I know them and I know their work ethic, that's a plus. But I don't know who will be writing those applications. I won't even know you in the interview, because putting on a front is easy. It's when we get to the nitty gritty and get the work in that I need to establish that front about what is expected as you as a person on student government.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much what everyone else said. I'm not trying to like copy everyone, but yeah, I have no idea. We don't have any idea who's going to be on our cabinet. It's going to be open applications like it is, and we're going to look at qualifications of a person. We are going to meet with everyone that applies that we want to interview with. I mean, personally, I want like a diverse cabinet with a lot of different opinions, a lot of different backgrounds. So, I mean, if a lot of people with different backgrounds apply, then that'd be the best thing for me. And I think that's really what I want on my cabinet.
Rule of thumb for our ticket is that we believe that we are coworkers first, and if we can grow and blossom relationships and friendships in the organization through the work that we do, that's great, but we shouldn't be friends entering the organization and then become coworkers after that. That's how issues start, and that's how issues don't get solved. As far as our cabinet, obviously, we don't want to have anyone that we know as our friends already picked out. We're going to let the application process go as intended. The only rule of thumb that we have in place that maybe is unique is that we will, for whatever type of confirmation, always try to bring 2 people up no matter what. Even if we feel like someone is the strongest candidate, we want to make sure that the Senate has a ability to make that decision for themselves through their vote.
Hi, so like, I wouldn't say this is like specific, but if you have an answer, answer. So I'm sorry this was like technically answered earlier, but I wanted to know, so all of you have a bias. As much as we like to admit we do not have a bias, we have a bias from Greek life to Alana to housing and dining. And like, it's like everybody has a bias. So I just want to know, how are you guys going to separate yourself from your bias so that you can get work done for everybody rather than just working on what you guys want?
First, it's easy for me to separate. I've matured early, so I understand life. So when it comes to addressing issues and problems, I'm looking at the entire student body because I will represent the entire student body. When the paw prints come up and we talk about why do we have to pay hundreds of dollars for these homework assignments, these quizzes, and these exams, I can relate. No matter who wrote that paw print, I can relate. We all have the same issues here. We're here on the same campus. We have the same tuitions that we have to pay, as I mentioned before. So I'm working towards the goal to better the student experience here as a student at RIT. It's not just for students of color. It's not just for students who are in the LGBTQ community. It's for every student who has come through RIT and who pays that tuition and who swipes their card to get into their building. I want to represent every single student, and I have the ability to do so because of my own personal experiences. Brian?
Also want to add on that, like, we are a reflection of the student body, so we shouldn't have any biases necessarily that we put forward when we are doing or whenever we are working with solving issues for this campus.
It's simply unprofessional if you let your biases come before your decisions, in my personal opinion.
Danelle brought some great points. I think, yeah, everyone does have their own biases. I think a way to at least mitigate that is to have a diverse range of people and run that idea by a bunch of people. I might have a great idea for housing and dining, but as I just learned, I have a housing and dining bias, and my idea might be a great, fantastic idea in my head, but I could run it by 5 different people and be like, yeah, your idea is stupid, don't do this. You know, having those checks and balances in an organization, I think, you know, helps, I don't think completely eliminate bias, but it does help mitigate it to a point where, you know, the stuff we bring forward is fair and is, you know, beneficial to the students that it affects.
Yeah, this is truly where it's our job to lean on our cabinet members, our committee chairs, our senators, our RSOs, because everyone in student government organization has a different bias. And when we go to every single member of Senate and we say, hey, we have this idea, do you guys like that idea? And they say, no, that's targeted way too much towards Greek life. Can you expand that more? And we can say, okay, yeah, we'll do that. We'll go back and say, and, you know, fix it, come back to Senate. And if they're like, hey, there's still issues, we'll go back and fix it. And it's like a constant process of relying on the people that not only we've hired, that have also been elected into their positions, that will really benefit on making sure that there's no bias. Sorry.
That solution is fairly simple. It is, I should never be giving my opinion on the experience of a group that I do not directly represent. I represent a couple different communities, but I don't even understand all of the niche individual perspectives of the groups I even am a part of. There's so much intersectionality in all the groups that I'm a part of, and I need to make sure that not only the groups that I'm a part of are heard, but the external ones, which is why, as had been mentioned, we need to rely on the representatives that you guys vote in and make sure that they are the ones being heard on your behalf. Not that we are going to meetings and going, this group feels like this, we don't have the authority for that. But you guys elect individuals that represent your community and directly interact with you guys, and we want to make sure they are the ones advocating on your behalf.
I thought Scott was going to talk, sorry. So, I mean, honestly, like we all do have these biases. Did we all not attend Stella Lee's unconscious bias session? I mean, they're there, whether we want to admit they're there or not. I can't professionally say that, you know, they're going to be absolutely gone as soon as I get this role. Yeah, I was a varsity athlete. Like, I mean, that's still my tie. Like, I still am a part of that, but it's not going to come first in this role. Like, yeah, if that can benefit the student athlete population too, then sick. Like, yeah, implement it for the student athletes as well. But actually, like, listening to everyone, and if it doesn't fit for everyone on campus, then why are we implementing it?
I'm a very scientific person. I like to trust data. I like to trust reports. I'll trust my colleagues. If everything that I'm seeing is pointing towards something, I'm not going to push it the other way just because of a bias of mine. That's not how I plan to run my role.
And with that, we're going to wrap up the Q&A session so we can get into their closing statements, which you guys are going to have 2 minutes to do each. So we'll start with Darcy.
All in all, I hope that we've presented our platform effectively. Again, I'll reiterate the 3 C's: collaboration, communication, change. Collaboration being Project Spirit, trying to aim to increase attendance of all events on campus, not just people going to only hockey games or maybe a couple going to a lacrosse game. We want people to be attending all different types of events. And we think that we can really hit that point home by emphasizing communication through town halls, marketing student government through merchandise, and essentially our communication goals will lead us to the real change that we want to make, which Darcy, if you'd like to.
Yeah, I mean, I just hope that you guys know, like, we're going to be real. We're not going to put any BS. We're very real people. I mean, you can come up to me and ask me anything. And I just hope that you guys know that, like, we're ready to make a change. We're eager to do this, and we know everyone else is as well. And we just really hope that everyone picks what's best for them.
With Brian's and I experience culturally, professionally, and academically, we are confident that we have the skills to show you all what MCAS really means to us, not only on the multicultural center for academic and success, but the mental health, which is imperative, the community service, which is imperative, the accessibility, which is imperative, and the student body connectivity, which is imperative. If we are not doing what we're supposed to be doing, then what are we sitting here for? We're not doing this for ourselves. We want to better the entire experience for all the students here. Nobody likes to pay $72, probably $75 now, $75,000 for a tuition where we can't even enjoy ourselves. We want to make sure at the end of the day, you students feel comfortable here and feel accepted on this campus. And with our MCAS platform, we will do all that we can to ensure that.
We also like to add that just because we have our MCAS platform does not mean that we are only limited to just that. We are both open to growing, and we're both open to hearing anything that anybody might have and add towards our platform. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd just like to reiterate the mission statement, putting the student back into student life. We want to make it a point that students are the first priority on our campaign, and if we were to be elected. We picked out specific platform points that we really do think are achievable, and we don't want to make any false promises to students.
Yeah, and I thank everybody for coming up here. You know, it's not an easy job getting the signatures and getting up here and talking in front of a bunch of people. I think, you know, we all have capable people up here. However, when you make your vote and your decision on who you want to run this organization next year, think about what each platform will make an impact on, how your student experience next year will be impacted and how it will be improved. With that, I think our platform is the most, you know, progressive in terms of improving student life on campus. And personally, for me, I will not stop working on these issues until I have to walk the stage. You know, from day one, if I get announced as the next president, I will start working. Summer, I don't get a break in the summer. I'm working. So I just, you know, hope that, you know, you've listened very attentively today, and yeah, you can make the best informed decision you can.
So we didn't get to finish our actual platform points at the beginning, which is unfortunate, but I'd just like to hammer home academic, campus climate, and transparency issues. We are going to be going as hard as possible in ensuring that those things are feasibly and tangibly solved to the best of our ability. And we made sure to choose things that we felt are both things that we know can happen or things that we've already actively been working on and have put in some groundwork in, so that way we know that it's not something that we have to start from the bare bones. As far as how we're going to go about just this voting, we just hope that you consider us for the, like, Leia, take this part. I'm winded.
Okay. We really hope you'll consider us. We are extremely advocacy focused, and we want to interact with you. If at any point you want to reach out to us, please do. We hope you'll see us.
So thank you all for coming today. I just do want to remind you that voting does start on March 27th at 10 a.m. and runs until Wednesday, March 29th at 11:59 p.m. So please do vote. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me at SG Elections email on anytime. I will get back to you as soon as I can. And you can also reach out to all the wonderful candidates that you saw talk today.